We're back.
Yes, we're back.
We're back. Good evening,
Vietnam.
Good evening, Vietnam.
R.I.P. Robin Williams.
Yeah, right. R.I.P. Robin Williams. Good evening, Riveters. Welcome to another edition of Between Two Consoles.
Yes,
We're
yes,
your
yes.
hosts, Cyrus and Hellfire.
Hello.
Fergie and Nate.
Hello.
Bearded guy and other bearded guy. So, how's everybody been? How have you been?
I've been good. It's been a busy, long, tiring, tequila drinking week, but that's besides the point. We're here to enjoy talking about games and
Indeed.
everything about that.
It recently was your birthday,
Yes.
so happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. World, give our glorious fetus here a just rambunctious and generous happy birthday. He's finally getting a little bit older. In 7 more years, he can join the old Fox Club. 7 more years. We give you crap for it. We love you.
I know. So,
So,
what do we talk about today?
we are talking about, recently I just went through the Witcher series, and from 1 to 3, and each of those games were several years apart,
Right.
and they each kind of represent, I would say, a stage of gaming, in as far as the leaps and bounds.
Right.
Okay, this will make sense in a minute. The first game really had a lot. I mean, you're talking older style graphics, early 2000s, give or take. It was good for its time. Had
Right.
good cutscenes. I believe some of it was actual in-game footage, that kind of thing. But still, it was that very kind of blocky combat. Still kind of
Right.
blocky in what it was doing. It's nothing is nearly as sharp as what we're used to today. So for me, playing that game and going all the way through it, it was kind of hard for me to adjust back to that
Right.
mind, right?
Definitely. No, I definitely feel that because recently I just purchased a PlayStation 2. Never owned one, but I have very fond memories of playing PlayStation 2 with friends, and specifically the game that I picked up with it, which was SSX Tricky. Still a phenomenal game,
Great game.
but going from games, and I'll even say it specifically snowboarding games like the newer SSX Reboot for the 360 and Steep from Ubisoft, going back to Tricky and going back to 3 once that arrives for me next week, it's a big change.
Yes,
It's definitely a big change. The controls aren't as tight as you would think they would be. The gameplay is still phenomenal, and there's just still there's still a learning curve for it, even after playing it, but having not played it for 15 years.
Right, and then there's that you have to mentally adjust to the graphics and mentally adjust to in somewhat choppy gameplay and controls, because some
Right.
and some of that just wasn't as refined. Pathfinding, for example, just in general.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, when we were playing them at that age, we were used to the other games of that time too. So.
Right. And it's even just a style of just the controller.
Mhm.
Yeah. The PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 controller have the same basic architecture, but the only two that are the same are the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2. The PlayStation 3 is completely different because the triggers are actually are actually in the mold for the controller,
Right.
whereas the PlayStation 3 triggers are kind of outside that mold. So it's different because you're not getting like a kind of like sweeping down press like you would get for the PS3 or the 360 or the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4. You're more just actually getting that press feel for it instead of just kind of like an actual trigger feel. So it's interesting, even just how far games come since the PS2 launch, which was what, 2002?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So early to mid 2000s.
Yeah, and it's that, and then getting it. So then I get through Witcher 1, right? And like part of me kind of was. It took me probably a year to play that game because the first probably the first first 2/5 of the game, the combat's really kind of hard. It's hard to get used to because I would say because of what we're used to now, and it takes a bit to pick up, but like eventually you get used to it, and that kind of picks up throughout the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And then you kind of blow through it once you really get used to it. Then I immediately played Witcher 2, which is a night and day difference of gaming. I mean, yeah, it's the same story and the similar story and world and characters and everything else, but like this entire game is it's a completely different game.
Right.
The combat is much more smooth, leaps and bounds. The graphics, giant leap from like 2001, 2000, 2003 to like 2000. I think it's 2009 when that game was released. I think somebody needs to get let into our own building. Anyway.
Continuing on.
We're borrowing an apartment. We'll give it back.
No, we might.
But yeah, so you have those giant leaps and bounds in that arena too.
Right.
So the graphics, voice acting, that's a giant improvement too. All those little nuances of story, little things in gameplay, that's way different.
I definitely feel that a game series that we can definitely go to see and to learn how well voice acting has come from Resident Evil.
Absolutely.
You were almost a Jill sandwich. The most deadpan and just so bad in terms of voice acting. To just nowadays where like you feel the performance.
Right.
Like I will say, one of my favorite voice actors in shows, anime, gaming is definitely Troy Baker.
Yep.
Troy Baker and even Nolan North. They have.
Matt Mercer.
They all have such great voices, and they put on the performances so well.
Right.
So just even again, gameplay wise, graphics wise, and even voice acting wise, in the past 10 years, has just risen.
Yeah, and there's that, and then also, so that you can tell the transitions were happening because in Witcher 1, in going on that path, it was a lot of just mouth movement, and there was a little bit of expression, like as much as you can.
Right.
And 2, you could start to see like the little kind of
Little
inflections.
Yes, them emoting a bit.
Yeah, and then now in the jump into, I just started playing Witcher 3, and that game is magnificent.
Mm-hmm.
That game is beautiful. It's much more open world. It's a lot less linear than the first 2 games.
Right.
Again, graphics are 10 times better. Combat's 10 times better. Everything about the game, including the story, and the nuance and details, 10 times they introduced. They did a much better job with weather and how the day passes and everything else. It's
right.
Look and feel a lot more realistic. They feel update for 2015, which is when it came out. But that's a big thing too. Now you can see a lot more inflections and details in people's faces.
Right.
Because in the earlier games, a lot of the performance was definitely on more of the voice actor to really be giving the inflections in their voices.
Right.
And now it's balanced out to full on actual complete performance acting.
Right.
And now a lot of these games too have the motion capture people.
Yeah.
People working motion capture.
And it's even at times it's even the voice actor is doing the mocap performance.
Right.
Like Nolan North for Nathan Drake. Mm-hmm. I know he's done some of the mocapping. Troy Baker I'm sure has done some of his own mocapping.
Right.
And a game that tried to kind of break the mold with the kind of facial animations, trying to get every little bit of emoting and everything, was LA Noire.
Yes.
Because they actually tried to get to that point of, that exact, like if you were actually, a detective working in Los Angeles back in the 50s, and actually trying to capture that exact facial expressions, emoting, like they had that, it was like the truth or lie kind of system where like you had to tell from the character's face if they were lying or something. I mean, that was ahead of its time when that game came out. That was
way ahead of its time.
2008?
2008, 2009.
Something like
yeah,
that?
I've had that game for a long time. I played through most of it a long time ago now. I remember sitting through it and just, in dialogue choices, like you can't really go back and so if you make a judgment call onto what you think of a person's line, you're not trying to deceive you, whether it's a witness or whether it's a criminal or whatever. Because they do a really good job of the whole spectrum of emotives, of inflections, of just all those micro expressions.
Yes.
Right. Whether it's an eye twitch, whether it's a little movement of the corner of the mouth, or things, just little tiny things. They do a really good job picking that out. And if you're wrong, it can derail your entire interview or your entire investigation.
Right, exactly. And again, going back to just how games have changed. A big one. So, I'm a big car guy. I love racing games. I love Need for Speed, Forza, Gran Turismo, Midnight Club, everything like that. Day-night cycles and changes in weather. Like that has vastly changed the format of racing games as a whole. The first time that I really saw that was Gran Turismo 6. They had a day-night cycle where you could go into your course, do your 24-hour racing, and it would have a day-night cycle. It would actually go through, like you started at 5 a.m. the one morning, you go through the 24 hours, and it actually go through, and you would have weather changes. There would be rain in one spot, everything like that. Forza Horizon 4 actually has a season mechanic where it will change different seasons. Where you'll start in summer, and it's not like an exact one-to-one, like, oh, summer solstice is the start of summer, winter solstice is the start of winter type stuff. No, it's like every couple weeks it changes seasons, and it'll be, if it's spring, it'll be kind of rainy one day, sunny the next. If you go through, it'll start raining or not. Fall, you'll have leaves kind of down on the ground. Winter, it's actually snowing. Like it's interesting. Just even how that is, and it does actually change the dynamic of the racing and everything.
Well, because that's real life.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, it's amazing how thin the line between a virtual space and real life is now.
Yeah, so that's what we wanted to talk about today was the current state of gaming, where gaming really is now, how close we are to, in some ways, plug yourself into a game and you're unable to distinguish reality from the fiction or the virtual reality.
We're almost to the Matrix, is what we're saying. We're almost to the Matrix.
Pretty much.
Or Ready Player One.
Yeah. Or either or gamer.
Yeah. Definitely.
Anyway.
No, and gaming as a whole definitely has changed in just even the past 5 years. Whether it be actual gaming on your consoles or everything, to just the actual just entity of gaming. This, like what we have here as one of our props is my old Xbox 360. This is a second gen Xbox, and that was done in probably like 2008 or so, we'll say.
Yep.
Because I think we learned last time the Xbox One was 2012.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I mean, well, I guess that does follow the console.
Well, so because I kind of based it. So Grand Theft Auto 5 came out in 2013, which was around the end of the lifespan of the 6th gen consoles, which was the Xbox 360,
right,
the Wii/Wii U, we'll say, and the PlayStation 3. And it was towards the end of that where GTA 5 came out, and so as soon as GTA 5 came out for the 360 and the PS3, as soon as the One and the PlayStation 4 were announced, it was shortly after it was announced that those consoles were coming out, the GTA 5 was getting a remaster for the next gen console, the 7th gen. And so, it's crazy to think that you can have a game that came out near 10 years ago now is on your current gen console like that. I mean, that's what I love about like Xbox doing the backwards compatibility for the Xbox One, for the Xbox 360 games and the Xbox games. Because if you didn't know, for the backwards compatibility of the Xbox One, it's not actually running the OS for the 360 and the Xbox. It's actually emulating the OS. So it's not a true backwards compatible. You're actually running an emulator while still having your first party disc.
That's it's such an important distinction that almost nobody would know.
No, nobody would know. Because you're just like, oh cool, I can play my 360 games, I can play my SSX Tricky or my SSX3 or whatever on my Xbox One, that's phenomenal. Yes, technically you are, but in reality you're not. You are actually playing an emulator. Just, it's able to go through the first party system, the first party connections and everything like that. So it's interesting how that works. And I mean, we've got things that go, things as big as this 360, which I would say is about, a foot by a foot, to things like that Nintendo Switch right there. And just, we got stuff coming from, your standard compact discs to the little game card.
Right.
And I mean, for the Switch, those game cards, those games, regardless if it's on the handheld version or the docked version, looks phenomenal. Breath of the Wild looks great on both the handheld and on the TV. And it's amazing that you have something that's not even as big as an SD card. And it's holding all that kind of information, and it looks phenomenal.
Yeah, we're just, Red, who's off screen, was our tech master. It's our tech master Jedi.
Hi.
Except when the tech gremlins do kick in.
Yeah. To slay those little. Anyway, we were talking while we were doing an NVIDIA update, and that was like 500 meg or something like that. And we're all talking like we remember when hard drives used to come that big, like its max capacity.
Yeah.
10 seconds to download 500 megs to just update my graphics driver.
Right, like that stuff used to be like, well, that's gonna update. I guess I'm gonna go ride my bike and make a sandwich and go play baseball. And by 10 o'clock, that'll be done. Oh, and it'll eat my entire hard drive, so that's cool.
Well, and even just like just how they're able to compress everything like that. I mean, you have hard drives that were thicker than this, that only held like maybe like 50 gigs.
Yeah.
Now you have stuff that's as big as this that holds a terabyte.
Right.
2, maybe 3 even.
And this thing is more powerful than all of our consoles almost to date.
Combined.
Yeah. Yeah. And this thing plays like little, and we have like millions of little mobile games now.
Yeah. And that's another actually perfect segue for that is mobile gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Mobile gaming is blowing up.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for everyone, and it's not just your grandmother, your mother, your father, your uncle playing your Candy Crushes, not sponsored, or anything like that. Because this is the what
You got it.
Well, yay for being Activision Blizzard King, but I digress. But mobile gaming is on the up and up. I will agree that they're taking beloved IPs and kind of watering them down with mobile gaming. I will say with Commander Keen and Command & Conquer and whatever else EA has decided to throw into mobile gaming.
Yeah, it's good. And in some ways, they're not even focusing on anything else anymore. It's just like the Command & Conquer series is a great example of that. We haven't seen a real PC, console, anything else Command & Conquer games since
What, Red Alert?
No, since Tiberium Twilight.
Oh,
that
yes.
was many years ago. And so the only 2 things that they've come out with since then are Tiberium Alliances, which is a browser and mobile game, well, browser and mobile, whatever, and then now CNC Rivals, which is all mobile. So it's interesting to watch a developer who was famous for RTSs and really groundbreaking strategy and another bit in some FPSs and everything else, and they're literally putting all their eggs in that basket.
Right. I mean, it's not a bad thing for them to do.
No.
It's just it's hard on the gamer who has come to love that kind of series.
Right, because I want another Command & Conquer in my life.
Which I think that'd be fantastic. I mean, look at the old Command & Conquers where it was, your FMVs.
Right.
Your ahead for its time FMVs, but look very bad.
Yeah.
To today's standards. I think it'd be great to actually have a Command & Conquer game in its old style, just made with today's technology.
It sounds like Tiberian Sun was going to get a remaster. I don't know if that's true. I'd be completely okay with that.
I would too.
I'd like to see another Red Alerts. Red Alert 3 was good. It was kind of cheesy and cartoonish. I'd like to see a 4 that kind of went back to the style of 2. But obviously they're games, so they to grow. but I'd like to see another type, like the Tiberium series. Kind of the story kind of ended, sort of, but I mean, there's other places to go with it. They could do that. The Generals franchise, they could actually do quite a bit with yet.
Right.
But yeah, I don't. Well, but the problem is, and you tell me if you think I'm wrong here. I think the reason that they're like not a lot of companies are going to bank in the RTS game anymore is because the RTS is getting just destroyed.
Right. Well, it is, but StarCraft is kind of back on the up and up.
Yeah, StarCraft is the only game now in the RTS game.
And that kind of gives Blizzard the monopoly on RTSs. Because you don't see anymore. We don't see Command and Conquer. We don't see. God, there's some other ones that I'm forgetting.
There was obviously we have the Warcraft. So
Yeah.
they're doing the Warcraft 3 remaster because we can, I guess. But yeah, there's that. There was an RTS series I really like called Act of War. And then they made a new, those same developers went and made another game, and then they hosed it and remastered it, and now there's only like a multiplayer version, which is bizarre. There's some...
Because Civ.
Civ.
Is that technically an RTS?
No.
Or is that, like...
I mean, I think it's still grand strategy. Because technically it's still turn-based.
Right.
Because it's not an RTS because it's...
Yeah, it is turn-based, but it does kind of have that.
Well, and it's getting and that's that. We're also seeing more games come out too, like the Total War series, which is on its comeback now, which is kind of bridges the gap between grand strategy and RTS. But we need an adjustment. Around here, soft. Is it soft? Yeah. Are you soft? I guess our audio is soft. Yeah. Don't break that simple technology.
I mean, if it was simple, it wouldn't be busted.
That's the problem. Well, I mean, that's.
Is there a boost on that? Because we have a boost software side.
We can just speak like this intently into the microphone. Hello, between two consoles viewers. This is the Central Hour.
God. That's just no.
No? No? Okay. We will do our best to speak up.
I mean, that won't be hard for me.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, really, there was a lot of other random ones. Universe at War is one I think of, which I like. That was a kind of like a diamond in the rough game that I wish got a lot more, because it was kind of like based on like a War of the Worlds kind of premise.
Right.
Which was a lot of fun. Wish that would have got more traction. But yeah, I mean, right now the RTS reigning king is StarCraft 2, and they just took all the developers off it.
Yep.
Which is I don't get you, Blizzard. Why? Why you do this to me?
Well.
Why you hate me when I show you nothing but love?
Well, I will say that will happen just from my basic understanding of everything, at least for a game company, even though I work for a game company, is that once a game gets close to the kind of the end of like almost to the end of its lifespan or to the end of its development, they'll start to pull developers off and put them towards a different game.
Yeah.
Now, am I saying that that's happening? Absolutely not. I have no kind of information on what Blizzard is doing. Again, I work for the Activision side of the company, so I don't know what Blizzard's doing. But is that a possibility? Yes. Do I think that StarCraft 2 is ever going to die? No. Though, if it ever would, it'd because there'd be a StarCraft 3. Again, this is entirely speculation.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it was what, 10 years between StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2?
Oh god, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And StarCraft 2's been out for Oh, well, you're too young to understand this, but it's been out for 7 years. Since about I want to say it was 2011, 2012 when StarCraft 2 came out. Because it was when I first moved down here. It was just before when I first moved down here. That time period.
July of 2010.
Oh, hot shit. Got it. He is old enough to remember.
It was only 9 fucking years ago.
Yeah, but you were like 11 at that time.
I was 14.
You were like 1,000 in gaming years by that time, though. It's like the opposite of dog years. It's like accelerated. But that makes me like 3,019. Anyway, yeah, right. Anyway, so my point to that is that it would surprise me if they were thinking that StarCraft 2 was end of life, especially since the Heart of the Storm expansion was only a couple of years ago, and the live play, so the multiplayer is still very alive and well. They're adding new stuff to it all the time, adding new heroes, and yeah, they did just shut down in support for Heroes of the Storm too, which sucks a lot. My guess is they're dumping all their money back into WoW and everything else, but
Well, didn't WoW just come out with a new?
they're doing their back to basics WoW, or what they call it, WoW Classic, World of Warcraft Classic.
Well, they're doing WoW Classic, but didn't WoW just actually come out with something recently? I remember people at work clamoring about it. Regardless.
Yeah, maybe.
But in like the lifespans of games can kind of vary. Call of Duty World War II. That had a lifespan up until November of 2018. I only know that because the testers for it at the office got put off to new projects or went to different companies or something around that same time. And so that's when, typically, like for a game like Call of Duty or even like Assassin's Creed that comes out kind of every year, there's a new one every year, the lifespan of each title is only going to be about a year or so. Now that has kind of changed with Assassin's Creed recently because they have taken a year off on some games. And so we have seen a longer lifespan of games. And a good actual example for that is Forza Motorsport 7 is still being supported, and that was released nearly 3-4 years ago. Even though that they had a new game come out in Forza Horizon 4, technically they are two different series of games, and they are done by two different development companies, but it's still amazing for them to be supporting it for this long.
Yeah, we shouldn't. That brings up a good point. We shouldn't be comparing the support of 10 years ago to the support of now.
Right.
Because the industry, the state of the gaming industry changes on a fucking dime at this point.
Right, definitely. And so it's interesting to see how long games will be around. You know, we're still seeing support for Grand Theft Auto Online, which again, that came out with GTA 5 around 2013.
Yeah.
So that's a game that's been supported now for 6 years.
Well, so you gotta wonder. Okay. What is the metric? I would love to know where the cutoff points are of where we should be supporting a game and not. Like, is it amount of money generated? Is it amount of players actively playing or signing up or not or dropping off? You know, is it a comparison of overhead? Is it price? It's probably all of those.
It is definitely the revenue that is coming in from the game, the player base and how much there is of it, and how active that player base is. Because I will say for Black Ops 4, the game that I'm still currently working on, the player base for the PC side has dropped tremendously.
Why would you say that?
Because again, I will say again, working for Activision, everything that I say about an Activision game is entirely my own viewing. It's because the game it's not good. It's not very well supported, and it has definitely not really catered to the fan base and the player base. That's another thing about it, is it's really those 4 things: revenue, player base, the amount of player base, and the attraction to that player base.
Gotcha. That's a really.
Because I mean, at launch, the PC gaming was kind of like the bigger side of everything.
Yeah.
Now it has become the lowest, the lowest amount in the pool
For that game.
To the point where we have. I mean, it's hard for the blackout. It's hard for people to even get a game going in the blackout because you need a minimum 40 people, I think.
Wow. And I suppose people are sitting there for like 15 minutes waiting
Right.
for this, keep popping certainly.
And so it's that attraction to the player base and that continued support to the player base that we're looking for in a game. Because let's just say that we came out with a game. It's bringing us in money. It has a good player base. The player base is still around, but we're not doing anything to keep that player base around for long. So let's say that we have our game, it's been out for 3 months, and it's doing fantastic, but in the next 6, it's slowly going down and down, because people have probably already beaten the game, they've gotten everything they can, they've done everything they can, but there's not much there to do left.
And I suppose it's kind of a race between like when you launch a game and having existing content versus how quickly you can make new content for it to keep interest.
Right. A great example for that, I would say, is actually the Destiny franchise. Okay, I love the Destiny franchise. I love the games. I was playing Destiny 2 up to the point that I got here. I needed to get through some menagerie runs.
As you do. Needed.
But D1 and even D2, I had my little lulls in playing it between expansions because I had done everything I could, gotten to the highest point that I could, gotten everything that I could at that point, and there wasn't anything else for me to do until the next expansion came out.
Right. Yep.
So, again, Destiny 2 was bringing in the money, had the player base it needed, had an active player base, but wasn't keeping the player base around until the next expansion came out, which gave it more things to do, more things to get, and more people brought in from it. Which is why I'm very happy that D2 is going to go to a free-to-play.
It was for a bit there.
Well, I mean, it's for those that used Battle.net at the time. This was a few months ago, which I did actually get on top of that because once I actually get a good game on PC, definitely playing Destiny 2 on PC.
Take advantage of that when you can.
But it is now going to allow a 100%, well, I won't say 100%, but it will go to a near free-to-play model. So you're going to get, it's going to be Destiny 2 New Light. You're going to get the base game and the first 2 expansions for free. So Curse of Osiris and Warmind for free. But then you're going to get, God, what was the most recent one? Fuck, Nathan, remember. I can't remember it.
Everybody speak loudly into your computer and tell Nate to remember what he's trying to think of right now.
But whatever the most recent expansion was, if I can remember the name, that and the next expansion, Shadowkeep, will be paid. But again, going to a semi-free-to-play, I say semi-free-to-play because there will still be games, you will still have to pay for things.
Well, as long as it's not pay to win.
It never has been a model of pay to win. Because I will say, it's not in some cases Battlefront 2, where you have to roll loot boxes to get loot box only weapons. Or Black Ops 4 to get black market only weapons, which we agree is kind of a bad model.
Yeah.
And I'll just leave it at that before the lawyers come knocking down on my door. Oh God, they're already here.
Code black, code black.
Bail, there's a window right there, guys.
It's not good to have a model like that. It really isn't. Yes, it's good for money, but it's not good for your player base because then you won't have one after that. And that's why freemium games, again, like your Candy Crush or your Farmville or shit like that, those aren't, they're gonna help because people are gonna get addicted to them in the sort of way where it's like, oh, I need to finish doing this one thing, or I need this life, I need to finish this crap. Oh, it's only 99 cents to do this, might as well. But that 99 cents is gonna rack up over time for the single person, and then worldwide, if you have 1 million people doing the 99 cents, you got $2 million in your pocket right there.
It's not hard.
It's not.
That's,
And I think that model is okay for your mobile gaming, because A, you haven't paid for it, like the actual game itself, you're just paying for one thing. But for your console game or your PC game, you paid for the game already. You paid near between $40 to $80 for your game. You'd want everything to be there and everything working. You know, and that's why I like it when game companies do like a public beta. Because then you're able to actually, like, we've had things happen at work where it's an isolated incident. It means it happened just kind of like once and never happened again. But that's maybe 1 out of 50 people that are in the office. Now you bring that game and that issue is still there in a beta where upwards to tens, hundreds of thousands of people are playing it. Well, that isolated incident, that kind of grows into more.
right.
And so you're going to kind of be able to figure it out a lot more easily than you would with just 50 people. I think public betas are one of the best things that a company can do.
Yeah, and I think we as gamers are starting to get more used to that idea.
Right.
Right. We're starting to get to, because before, I'd say even in the last 10 years, it used to be that we'd get the cartridge and that's it. That's your game. That's
Yep.
all I get. That's
And if there was a bug in there, you had the bug.
yeah. Had bug sucks to be you. There's no patch, right? But on the other side of that, that also meant that games would be a lot more thoroughly baked.
Yes.
But now and then we had an interesting period where we still had that in our heads, but then the games would come out with and they would be kind of half baked, and they didn't quite have betas.
Yeah.
Rome 2, Total War Rome 2 is one that cursed me most painfully, because when that came out, when that was launched back, I don't know, I want to say 2012, 2013, that game was in alpha at best.
Mm-hmm.
It was broken in a lot of ways. When that was on sale for $60, it was broken.
Yep.
It just didn't work, and I put it down for 6 months to a year, and then finally they patched it enough so it's okay, now we're in beta, we can kind of actually play this.
Right.
And now it's to the point where it's actually playable now.
Right.
But there was a couple of years when it's first released when it just wasn't, and they would have been much better off releasing it as a beta to do that.
Right.
But now companies have figured out that they should be doing that more, and the gamers themselves are a lot more used to that process.
Right.
Now we're understanding that we're not going to get this fully baked version, because ultimately the version's never fully baked to begin with.
Right, and it never is. I will say from a game tester's point of view, pre-alpha and alpha is probably the best time. Alpha for Black Ops 2 was the most amount of fun that I've ever had. Oh my god, there was so much shit that you could do that would just break the game or just do something funny in the game. Oh my god, it was so much fun.
Yeah, because that's got to be kind of one of those things when you're game testers, that you got to just kind of find the joy in the break.
Okay, I still do.
Yeah,
I still do. I mean, I will say, if there's anybody out there that actually has Black Ops 4 and you have it, or you just have it there, or you play it on the regular or something, go into the blackout mode, take a cargo truck to the construction site, to one of the elevators, call the elevator up, put the nose of the truck to where the front axle is just over the ramp, call the elevator back down and hop into the truck, you'll just launch across the sky. That was a bug I had put in, and they did what they call WNFing, which is will not fixing. Because their reasoning was actually pretty solid, is that it could break the vehicle model, the area around there, or just how things function. But if you want to have some fun on a thing that they're not going to fix, apparently, don't do that. I still have a blast doing it at work because I know they're not gonna fix it.
You should include this as a segment in the show. Like at the end, like what's one little fucking
What's one thing? What's one bug that I know that is still out there? Ooh, I don't know. That'd be.
Is that a little dangerous?
It might be a little dangerous. Well,
okay, how about let's put it to a side. What's one really fun bug from any game?
oh God.
Yeah, like literally just whatever you could go back as far as you want, like but fun games like that have just like this super bizarre bug.
Well, not really a bizarre one, but I had to. So the day I bought my PlayStation 2, which was last Sunday, I put in SSX Tricky, started playing it, and I need to like upload it to my YouTube or something because it's so weird. So I'm playing the game, I'm coming down a ramp, coming down the hill up into a ramp. I fuck up my jump, and I get stuck in the geo, just fell down, and I get stuck in the geo, just kind of bouncing there. And like I can't reset myself, I can't get up, I'm just stuck there.
That's great.
And it's just like, I have been playing this game for less than 2 minutes, and I found a bug.
I was playing Witcher 3. I was probably 2 hours in the game, and one of the biggest improvements from 2 to 3 was the fact that you get a horse, which is awesome. Oh, it's awesome. I mean, but the game is, I think it's like I think somebody said 30 times bigger or something like that.
Right.
The map is huge, and I mean, I wouldn't say huge to Skyrim standards. Huge, maybe. I don't know.
Right.
I've never actually played Skyrim, but from my understanding of Skyrim, the map is massive. Anyway, there was a part where I parked. I jumped off the horse to go. I jumped off the horse at the end of a bridge, and then to go walk down to like the bottom or like under the bridge, the creek under the bridge, and I walk back up, and the horse is like this. Like, I mean, was like standing straight up. Just
That's good.
right in the air.
That's
like
good.
this. And then I get on the horse, and I'm kind of like this, and start galloping. It starts galloping. That's my
Right.
for a little bit.
Well, and like,
That's great.
bugs and glitches like that can actually be oversights at some point. This elevator glitch I've been talking about, I had never seen until I went to the Reddit.
Really?
Yeah, I did not know. Like, one of the greatest things that we like to do is actually go to the Reddit and find issues because it's the easiest way to find an issue. And two of those issues, which we have dubbed Space Force, because these glitches started happening around the time that Space Force was announced, and so we just started calling them Space Force because you just blast off into the sky.
Right.
And so two of the issues of those occurring, I found on the Reddit. And the elevator one was the latest one, but the others were just instances of just. The first instance of it was took a cargo truck. This was alpha. This was actually pre-alpha. There was a building at the farm, 2 buildings with this little overhang in the middle, and it was the perfect height where you could take the cargo truck, put it underneath it. And there's something wrong with cargo trucks and doors in the game. I don't understand. And actually, you can still kind of do this at some buildings that have a door and an overhang. You take the truck, you butt it up against the wall with the door, get out of the truck, open the door into the truck, and then get back in. Because what's happening is the door is trying to push the truck outside of it. Because it goes into an entity that's not being occupied. And when you get into it, it's now an entity that's actually occupying that space. So it's trying to push it out of that space, but then the overhang is there, and the overhang is pushing the truck back down.
That's so bizarre.
And so it's literally just, it's Newton's law, every action has an equal and opposite reaction, just forcing itself onto each other until it just pushes us out.
That's crazy.
And it was great because, I mean, again, you'd have the overhang, the truck, and it just boom, it's gone.
There's just some line of code somewhere. It's like, well,
yeah, somewhere in there.
If this, then
Right, and again, bugs and crap like that can be oversights. And this one, I still don't know if it really was an oversight or not, but one of the more famous glitches in gaming is the swing set glitch from GTA 4.
yeah, I played a chunk of GTA 4.
So, Yeah, so for those that are like Mr. Bergstein here, that are not very well enlightened into the Grand Theft Autos.
I'm of the Bergstein Bears, actually.
Bergstein.
Bergsteins. Bergsteins.
There is this park that has a swing set in it in Liberty City. And if you take a vehicle, ram it into that swing set, you're gonna launch across the map.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that could have been one of those things of, you know, we never really tried to put a vehicle into the swing set. Or it was one of those, we did this is kind of funny, why don't we keep it in? Or it's one of, again, it's one of three things. It was an oversight that they didn't really check. They saw it but thought it was funny, or they saw and didn't know how to fix it.
Interesting. All three of those have like really interesting ideas behind them.
And they do, they really do, and it's interesting, and like there are things that you think is a bug that isn't. I remember another one of my issues that I put in was, so each Call of Duty game that at least I can remember, during the final kill or like the end of the game, everything kind of slows down.
Yep.
And like you're aiming, if you were like aiming, your aiming slows down as well. Well, on PC, your aiming didn't slow down.
Interesting.
And so I put in an issue saying like, hey, this is kind of inconsistent with console. The aiming, isn't slowing down like it does on console. And the devs were like, it's a valid issue, we can see that it is, but we're trying to kind of keep PC and console kind of, together but separate in that kind of thing in how things work. And so everything would slow down except for your aiming. And so it's weird how they kind of want things to be like that.
That's a weird logic. Like I would get some control things and I would get some sensitivity things, but to have such a, I would even say a kind of an important control be that glaringly different, because that is in every Call of Duty game I've ever finished, there's always that end scene where you either have to throw the knife or you have to shoot the gun or
Yep.
whatever else, and it's always very slow because you're in some way disoriented,
Yep.
and that's kind of part of the story of it.
Yeah, and so again, like any kind of multiplayer game that you would finish, it has that slowdown, except for PC where you can still aim, like
That's
you
so weird.
normally were aiming. So you'd see this guy just like jumping, through the air and then just fucking spinning.
That's weird.
Another one of my favorite ones, again, Alpha, was the gestures menu was kind of messed up. And if you went into the gestures menu, your character model would just be like crouched on the ground, arm outstretched, fucking just spinning.
That's so bizarre.
Just spinning. And with that, I came up with one of my greatest videos ever, for work purposes only, of that happening, and You Spin Me Right Round is playing in the background.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, it's one of my favorite things ever.
Yeah.
I love it. Again, the lawyers are going to come down on me hard, but
It's fine. It's fine.
I'm not showing anything, so that's good.
It's fine. Yeah, but that's
This is we'll have actually an episode about game testing.
yeah.
Hopefully, maybe next time, maybe the time after.
Yeah, maybe next time, because I think that'd be a good segue for the next episode.
Right.
Yeah, let's keep there. Like, so we've got kind of the evolution of gaming.
Yep.
Right, a little bit in where as far as the graphics are again amazing. We've got some really good new gameplay. We've also found some very interesting ways to break that new gameplay.
Yes.
How it's developed, how the business. Where do we see? Okay, I think there's one thing we haven't covered yet, as far as where the state of gaming is. VR.
Ooh, okay. VR.
Right.
VR Troopers.
Yeah.
Great show from the 90s. Watch it.
Right. We've got enough in this thing right now. There exists a pair of goggles that you could stick on your face and watch a movie, play a game, and it's all powered from this thing.
You can also use VR for this thing.
Right.
We have VR headsets.
Yeah, and that's a whole thing. I think that before we get into VR, let's take a little break.
Yeah.
We're gonna take 5 to 10 here. Refill on drinks, refill on snacks, and all the good things. We will see you between two consoles. VR Troopers.
That was a good show.
It was.
We are back here.
Und wir back, ja.
And we are back.
Oh wait, let me just jump in for a second.
Zombo has returned home. Welcome back to Between Two Consoles via your host.
Not again.
Which is how I'm going to bring back our second segment.
Hello there, friend.
Hello there, friends. Welcome to Between Two Consoles, yeah. I'm your host, Tridus, and this is Hellfire.
And I'm Han.
And here's Gruber.
Here's Hans and I am Franz. And we are here to pump you up!
Wow. You probably think we just had 10 shots of tequila in that break. We didn't.
I wish.
Oh.
It was 9.
Wait a minute, were we actually live just then?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ah, fuck.
Oh, okay. Off the rails. Let's get back on the rails.
On this crazy train.
On this crazy train. With. Okay, let's talk VR. Okay, so
VR.
as we started talking about, now, and a lot of Samsung came out a couple of years ago with that headset.
Yep, and so I think currently any compatible Samsung device like this fabulous Galaxy Note 5 that needs to go into the trash because it's busted and old and I need a Note 10. I digress. They did come out with a headset that any Samsung phone at the time would just kind of clip into, and you could watch your 360-degree YouTube videos or your other 360-degree videos if you cared to, or just kind of anything that could be viewable in a 360-degree space. You could do it. Now, we have seen VR gaming as early as the 90s with the Nintendo Virtual Boy.
Yep.
That, of course, didn't pan out. But I mean, you had other things. I mean, you had like we had, mentioned before, VR Troopers, which was. It was in that realm of where kind of VR virtual reality was kind of gaining a little bit of momentum, but VR Troopers kind of didn't work out, I think, as a show, because it's like, oh, we're going to take this tokusatsu show from Japan, and oh no, it's actually the virtual reality world, and we have headsets that we put on, and no, it didn't work out. It was a good show, but it didn't work out.
No, it didn't.
But we have recently seen a resurgence in virtual reality gaming with likes of the HTC Vive, the Oculus Rift, the PlayStation VR, and I'm sure that there's been some other peripherals out there. But again, right now the two most notable ones are the Oculus Rift and the PSVR, which I've actually used both of those. It is interesting how VR works, and the amount of sensors and cameras you have to have set up, and everything going into peripheral. I wish that we can get to a point where we have an affordable piece of VR equipment that is also kind of cable free. Because both the Oculus and the PlayStation VR are still wired. I do believe that there is a wireless add-on for the Oculus that you can have. And so it's kind of easier to do that, because then you can actually have freedom. You're not tripping over a cable or everything like that, which is super nice. But I think one of the more notable games to come from VR is the game Beat Saber, which I have played tremendously. I wish I actually had a PlayStation VR to play it at home, because it's a lot of fun. Because think if Guitar Hero was mixed with EDM and Star Wars. That's what it is, and it's fantastic. You have your sabers that are totally not licensed lightsabers.
Yeah.
That you're hitting these notes with with the music and everything, in this kind of 3D space, which is a lot of fun, and it's a ton of fun. And I mean, you're seeing a lot of different other VR games with Oculus. You have games like Superhot, as another VR game, which is a lot of fun. And I think VR is going to become a more pronounced feature within the gaming industry. I think a lot of development companies, a lot of indie development companies, are going to continue to go that way.
Yeah, and that kind of comes back to what we started this conversation with in general, just that idea that it's becoming more difficult to distinguish gaming versus reality, right?
Yes.
Especially when you take the full sensory. I'm gonna go with replacement.
Yes.
That a lot of VR does, especially when you have like noise canceling headphones on and the goggles and everything else, and you are completely immersed in something. Whether it's one of my favorites is that Space Pirate Train or whatever.
Space Pirate Simulator.
Space Pirate
I
Simulator.
love that one.
When you're completely immersed in this, and like all you can do is shoot or defend yourself against all these little orbs that are coming to attack you. You
Right.
have dual pistols or whatever else, and you have to be standing because you need to actually move around and duck and fuck around. It's actually really great. It's a great workout.
And I mean, even Beat Saber's like that, because you're moving around. There are cases where you have to there are these giant, rectangles. I don't even know what to call them except rectangles. Just like these. It's like pure matter energy that you can't be touched by, otherwise you fail the game. And I mean, you have to like move to the left and even duck in some cases. Right. And so VR definitely, I think we'll definitely see it a lot more kind of being used for working out than anything. I think
that's a big thing. I think that
you can have games like Beat Saber again is great for like aerobics workouts.
Yeah, it is.
Oh my god, I wish I had a VR headset at home so I could actually do that and maybe trim off some of this fat.
Right.
Because it will definitely be used, I think, going forward a lot more for that. Because my motion stuff, like the Wii, the Nintendo Wii, was used a lot in retirement homes and like physical therapy centers. Because they use that stuff to kind of get people back into the movements of everything.
Right. It gives them that dopamine, the instant hit dopamine, right? Feels like you're accomplishing something. You're getting to have fun and play a game, and it still gets them to use the things that that don't get used, especially when you're in a retirement home or you're disabled for some reason and you need to you're in some kind of rehabilitation, right?
Yep.
I'm a big proponent of the idea that movement is life, right? You stop moving, so
right.
that's a big deal, and in a way you're kind of tricking your mind, you're tricking your body into that exercise, and as a result, you're getting how you could say a real life function out of that, which is really, really great. I think that my only concern is that you're gonna have, and you have to just keep an eye on it, that you're gonna have situations where people are not gonna be able to distinguish the reality from the virtual reality,
right?
Because they're gonna spend so much time in that. Like I played just a snippet of Resident Evil 7 on the PlayStation VR.
Yes.
Full sense, and I'm playing, and I'm in the house. I'm in the horror house.
Yeah.
And I'm playing it, and it's crazy. It's terrifying. I hear all the sounds. I hear the footsteps. I hear the creaking of the board and the twigs hitting the windows and just everything. And that's all I can see. And I have a buddy sitting next to me, and we're just hanging out or whatever else. And I don't feel like I'm even in the house.
Right.
Or in the house, in the real house with the person I'm hanging out with. I feel like literally I'm in this horror game.
Right. And another game that I think is fantastic for that, and I can actually call for later, Bergie, to edit in here.
Yes.
Wait.
I get it.
For those of you that don't know, there's a running joke that
We'll fix it in post. We'll just fix it in post.
Fix it in post,
Just fix it in post.
which always goes down on Bergie here.
We're gonna fix it in post.
Yes, we'll fix it in post.
If we consider me and then future Bergie.
Yep.
It's two different entities.
Gran Turismo Sport, again, a racing game.
Yes.
But, and I might actually be able to pull up some photos here for that. is very, very, very realistic, at least in my eyes. And again, it's one of those games that is breaking the boundary between virtual and real life.
Yep.
And we're getting closer and closer to that every time.
Cars, atmosphere. That's Gran Turismo.
That's in game.
Are you fucking kidding me?
That is in game.
Can you tilt that a little bit? Holy shit! I can just barely tell. Like, if you didn't tell me, I would have to take a couple minutes to really. Okay, I can just barely tell. Do you turn it? Turn it to face the camera just for a second. Like, look at this.
It's not coming through.
It's gonna come through fine.
We'll fix it.
We'll figure
We'll fix it post. But what Gran Turismo does here, what
This is insane.
what Polygamy Digital does,
You say polygamy?
it's like their company name is weird. It's like polygraphy, something like
Polygraph?
it's like polygraph, but it's
Are
like
they married
not.
to other companies? Like, what
Nah,
are you doing here?
I don't, their company name is weird. Their development company is weird. But they kind of
Petroglyph.
no.
No? Okay.
Again, it's
That was a death company.
they kind of cheat though.
Oh.
That the background
Oh, that's
is a real image,
So they're photoshopping that.
basically. So it's the basically the scenes, the in-game capture of it and everything, and you're able to take these virtual cars, set them up in such a way, and put them into this image. Again, the background image is real, the car is not.
Yeah, because I kind of felt that to me is what gave it away. It wasn't that even the car looked not real, and the background. It was the combining of the two, and I could just catch a little bit of the artificialness of it.
Right.
But I'm also a photographer, so that I know what these photos kind of look like, so I have a bit of an advantage there.
This one I think is like the one that really kind of
That's
gets it.
closest.
Well, at least that you can tell is kind of, it is a virtual car in the real world.
It totally is.
Because the lighting's not right.
No.
Everything like that.
Shading is not
Yeah.
right.
But like you get something like this.
You can barely tell.
There is one in here that I have that you really can't tell, and it's gonna be somewhere in all of these.
Yeah, so it's hard.
It really is, and I have shown multiple people, those in and out of the gaming industry, these photos, and I asked them, I'm like,
Real or
you know,
fake.
yeah, and I'm just like, how do you like this? And they're like, that looks phenomenal. Where'd you take a photo of? Where was that photo taken? Oh, Gran Turismo Sport, in game.
That's insane.
And so I definitely feel that Gran Turismo is right now the one game that definitely has
That's insane.
blurred that line. Like even this,
That's insane. That looks extremely realistic. And sometimes some of these, if you just didn't know any better, you'd be like, oh well, maybe they just did like an extra color correction on the car to bring it out. That's insane. It's insane.
Yeah. And so it's amazing how close we're getting to just blurring that line.
Almost indistinguishable.
Right.
And it's just this close. Like, it's a couple of years from being indistinguishable.
Right. It definitely is. And it's amazing.
That's awesome. This looks like a beautiful game.
And I think this is probably the best example of it.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, and so it's, again, future Birdie problems. I'll make sure that I send some of those around to him, and we can show them off in the VOD and everything.
There's a lot of this Wii shit happening here, and
I mean, hey, come on, it is our podcast.
yes, it is.
And so again, we'll make sure that you guys can actually like see that in its raw image and everything.
Yes.
Just so that
absolutely.
we can actually kind of show off really what we're talking about.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's worth seeing. It's worth like. I think I might slip in some real car images. In there.
Right.
Be like, which one do you think is the real one in the, and even just to say the fake one isn't almost accurate to say. which is the fake image, maybe the artificial image.
I would say artificial or just virtual.
Yeah.
I would say artificial more than fake. Because it is a real image just with artificial pieces put into it. Yeah, the line of... And PlayStation VR supports Gran Turismo Sport. So you're going to be in the cockpit of the car with the headset on and you're going to be looking, it's like, wow, this is...
That's crazy.
This is not real.
It's the future of gaming. Like, it's the future of gaming.
It is. I honestly think it is, and we will see more and more companies start to kind of progress with that. Which one that was interesting to me that we haven't heard about was, what was it? The Microsoft Lens. What was the name of their headset?
It's not Lens. Tech. Why? I don't. It's something like that.
I thought it was the Lens. It was like the Xbox Lens. HoloLens.
HoloLens. That's right.
HoloLens. We haven't heard anything about that since it was announced.
Not for a while.
Yeah, it's kind of like Google Glass.
Yeah. Yeah, about that. I boot that. But okay. Actually, no. So this is a really good transition.
It has its own Twitter account, and the last tweet was July 10th.
Of this year.
This year.
4 days ago.
Yes.
Check.
And I guess they're calling it more mixed reality.
The fuck does that mean? Anyway, this is an interesting transition. So now, because now video gaming, especially in the VR, is becoming part of just the regular everyday world.
Yes.
If you think about the HoloLens, you think about Google Glass, that catastrophe. But the idea was sound. The idea, it was a little too early in a lot of ways, and you walk around the Google Glass, it was a little pretentious and douchey. But
folks, we are getting closer and closer every day to a scouter.
yes,
I will be able to tell what your power level is.
Anyway, so we are very close to having like a heads-up display in our contacts and our sunglasses. Like I've seen so many movies in so much fiction that is so close to our reality.
We're already seeing heads-up displays in cars.
Absolutely.
When I at one of the hotels I worked at, I had to help valet with something, and I get into a Cadillac. And it had a heads-up display. It was just this little glass that was on the dash in front of the steering wheel that gave you speed, distance, shit like that.
Yeah.
And it was, for me, it was so jarring
Oh yeah.
to have that right there projected like that. It was so jarring because I'm still not used to it. I drive a '95 Taurus, the furthest thing away from technology of nowadays, and I had never been in a vehicle that had it before. And so it was just so jarring to me.
Yeah, a buddy of mine had one of those collision detectors on it. It would also give you like the path on the road and how fast you're driving, where you were in the lanes on the highway, and how close an object was in front of the next car. And it would if you had cruise control on, it would adjust to match that car's speed. And pretty soon, I don't know exactly what the inside of a new Tesla is like. Just saw the other day a clip of a guy fucking sleeping behind the wheel of a Tesla going 75 miles an hour.
There has been some interesting clips of people doing things in Teslas.
Yeah, get after it, as they would say.
That is honest to God one of the stupidest videos I've seen on the internet ever.
And that's saying something.
Like, I want to know the mindset of those people. I was like, let's do this. Let's Let's endanger our lives just so that we can have some hits on.
And everybody else around us. Anyway.
Darwinism.
Darwinism. Just like the kids. Just like the crazy folks who want to rampage Area 51. Some Darwin words there.
One of my APLs really wants to do that and asked me to go along with them. I'm this close just for the meme. Just for the meme.
There's part of me that just wants to go set up a lawn chair like a mile away with some binoculars and just like, I'm not part of this.
I do it only for the meme. I really want to know.
There's not many good scenarios.
Like, I really want to do it just for the meme.
Like crazy humans. I mean, it's like you fucking. Nobody's gonna do it. It's gonna be.
There are gonna be people that do it, and you know it.
There might be like 30 crazies.
There's gonna be like 6 people to do it.
Yeah.
But those 6 people are my goddamn hero.
Yeah, and they're not okay. Here are the scenario. There are 4 options for Area 51. They're either going to A, disappear them with conventional weaponry, disappear them with alien technology, which proves the point, but then nobody will know. They could disappear themselves with alien technology, and like everybody storms Area 51, and it's like a boiler room situation with just phones on the ground, and the whole thing's just empty.
No, the memes that come out of this though are phenomenal.
Yeah, the memes
I love them.
The memes are great.
And I do it only for the meme because it's hilarious.
But so there's been a lot of just super like so some of the fiction that I've seen in like the near future fiction that I've seen, like especially in cars, like people can answer their phones and they'll have like a video call that's like transplanted onto the windshield, right? You'll have that kind of, or like you'll have.
We're looking at Blade Runner.
Yeah, pretty.
We're looking at Blade Runner.
Very close to Blade Runner.
Yeah.
And it's 2019. We're not quite, to the
2049.
2049. But what was it? In Blade Runner, what was the year?
Oh, the original Blade Runner?
Yeah, in the original Blade Runner, what was the year?
Well, but you have to remember, movies and stuff will do that, and
Like 2017 or something like that.
the film is set in a dystopian future Los Angeles of 2019.
Wow.
I think a perfect example of fiction kind of doing that kind of stuff is one of my favorite movies of all time, 1986, The Transformers movie. Because it's set in the year 2005. Wow. Where we have an alien sentient robot species, that comes to our planet and also helps develop things for us, like hoverboards and shit like that, for the year 2005.
That's crazy.
And we can't talk about fiction and shit like that without mentioning Back to the Future Part 2.
Correct.
Which is the second best movie of that franchise, right behind Back to the Future Part 3. I'm gonna get live, but I enjoy all the movies. Back to the Future.
That's fair.
The original Back to the Future is my all-time favorite movie.
Of course, one of the greatest movies of all time.
But again, that was 2015.
Yeah.
Is what Back to the Future Part 2 was set in, and we had hoverboards, flying cars, time travel. Again, still, energy conversions with Mr. Fusion. Taking garbage and making it fuel and energy. Or I shouldn't say that, it was energy, because they pointed out in Back to the Future Part 3 that the car still ran on conventional gas.
Right. Yeah. I'm such a nerd.
Lindy! How dare you? How dare?
Yeah, same though.
He just.
Sorry.
Dana just said that she don't like the Back to the. We just lost Hellfire. This is it. He's quit. Zomboy is in. Hellfire out, Zomboy's
Zip
in.
your laptop.
It's okay. Hellfire quit. We don't even care about his property anymore. Hey, Zomboy, how do you feel about the Back to the Future movies?
I fucking love Back to the Future because I'm not an idiot.
See?
Oh.
Here we
Just
are.
kidding, Lindy. I love you.
We also probably just started a marital feud. This is fine.
I didn't even know what's going on because my
Fine.
computer's off.
Hey, when we're between two consoles.
It needs to be plugged in.
Oh.
Hey, seriously, everybody, what happens between two consoles stays between two consoles. You know what I mean?
I'm leaving.
Oh no, your Goku broke.
Well, Apparently our divorce is happening between two consoles because he doesn't love me.
Nice.
No, Goku! I'm fixing them. We're good.
Anyway.
Today has been very interesting.
Should we cut the break?
Do we
Do we go to commercial? Because I think
I'm gonna call their lawyer for them.
maybe we should get a lawyer and maybe an
We have a
engineer.
We're good, we're good.
But seriously, they're all dead to me. What happens between two consoles stays between two consoles.
Oh my god.
Much of that happened outside of the two consoles, though, so like it's all free game. Everything's made up, and points don't matter, folks.
Oh, we need to have an audio version now. This is fantastic. I love this.
Oh, this is great. Thank you. Thanks, team. Good team.
I had to wait for my computer to turn back on.
It's fine. Everything's. See now, that's a great instance of being of it being difficult to distinguish reality from virtual reality.
Are they going to get divorced, or are they going to get divorced in virtual reality?
Right. Hey, people have gotten married inside games.
People have married
WoW
games.
Right.
There was, I remember reading a thing, a man in Japan married a DS title character, like the actual character.
like Krieg-san. Krieg-san.
Thank you for stopping by, everyone. This is the final episode of Between Two
This
Consoles.
is it. This is all we have.
A virtual woman named Nene Anagasaki while playing Love Plus, a dating simulation.
That's what it was.
Holy
That's
hot
what it
shit.
was.
This was in 2009.
He left. He went to like Guam or something, so that he could legally get married to this character in a game.
How does that work?
It's Guam.
I mean,
I'm sorry if we have any viewers from Guam. I apologize.
Are the developers then legally obligated to like start modifying the code to your benefit?
well, right. Like that's my question. And if there are viewers from Guam at some point, can you fucking explain this to me? I'd like to know where it is in your country's laws that allow for that. Where's the wiggle room? I mean, oh, you know what would actually be a really good video for us to do, like a good topic for an episode, a future episode.
What's that?
Would be to break down some of the our 80s, like 70s, 80s, maybe even early 90s pop culture videos
Right.
that went into the future and then broke them down, like how were they right and wrong?
I can definitely get on top of that
Yeah.
because, as everyone here knows, I am the 80s and 90s pop culture nerd.
That's true. And Zombo, I think that's a good episode to have one of our first guests. So let's put a pin in that, as I would say.
I have no idea what's happening on my computer now.
But yeah, that's the state of gaming. It's we're about to become the game.
Yes.
In a sense.
Yeah, we will definitely get to that point where it will be Ready Player One. I guarantee it.
Yeah, we're so stupidly close. Like we're at a point as a civilization where we basically have mastered the basic needs for the most part,
Right.
and like we've got a lot of interesting flexibility of time and advancement in knowledge and technology that we can really explore these things. Really explore because it's the next step is to explore ourselves digitally, not only in the next frontier of space, but also inward, and that's
development of here. Yeah.
development of here, and that's a really good way to look into that. So that's the whole thing. I think we're gonna take one more break, and we're gonna jump into news.
Yep. We'll kind of cap off the night with some news, some gaming news, some nerdy news, everything like that.
All right.
Hopefully, I can get my computer to work here. Ooh.
Yeah, it's having a small stroke right now.
A lot of command.exe prompts
Yeah,
popped up.
that's. But we will be right back at you with some more us.
Yeah, more us. You
Us.
know you want more us.
You do.
Yes, we're back.
And that's why donuts have holes. Hey, speaking of donut holes, welcome back to Between Two Consoles. We're your hosts, Tridents and Hellfire. Hellfire?
There's so much context. You probably don't need that much context.
You don't need to know what happened.
Oh my
in
god.
that Raven Hall. There's a lot that happened that we can't discuss in public.
I mean, we could. It's just we'd probably be stepping over a line.
Yeah, I mean, we'd be taking a giant running leap over it. But just to let you know that the variables are important, but what it equates to is that's why donuts have holes. Speaking of...
Why they're glazed.
Anywho, tell us what is new in the gaming industry this week.
So, in the few weeks that it's been since E3, we have some exciting news, some not so, well, maybe not so exciting news, but the good lords of Konami have graced our presence with the TurboGrafx 16 Mini.
Boom!
That will be releasing in March with, as Kotaku is quoted here, 50-ish games. So
it literally says ish.
50-ish. 50-ish, I-S-H.
Whole thing.
So that's actually going to be kind of interesting to see. We haven't seen really much of the TurboGrafx since, well, the TurboGrafx.
Well, let's talk about that. Tell the audience about what that means.
Well, the TurboGrafx was just one of those, 80s game consoles. You had, your NES, your Segas, your Commodores, and you had your TurboGrafx. And it was another one of those game consoles that didn't really take off. It was like Commodore. It didn't really take off as well as the rest of them.
Or the Dreamcast.
Yeah. And so, that's even where you had, like the first iterations of Castlevania and stuff was on the TurboGrafx. And so it's going to be interesting to see that kind of coming back. So again, look out in March for the TurboGrafx 16 Mini. In more exciting news, Nintendo has finally announced basically the second generation of the Switch Lite. So you have some upsides and you have some downsides to that. Upside is you get more color variety. You don't get a just gray or black and gray console, or the wonderful black and red and blue console, which I looked everywhere for that because the red and the blue look fantastic. You're going to get 3 different main factory colors of yellow, turquoise, and gray with white buttons, and the turquoise, in my opinion, looks the best. I just love the color variety of that. We're also going to get a Pokemon Sword and Shield edition with that, which is going to be kind of it's like a light gray, almost like if you mix the white in with gray, more white into the gray. That's what it looks like. Blue left thumbstick and buttons, D-pad, and kind of a pink. Pink. It's more like a periwinkle for the left, and then a pink. It's a good color combination.
It's periwinkle. It's periwinkle blue.
It will have a nice decal of the new legendaries on the back with that. Now the downside of the Switch Lite is that it is 100% portable only. You will not be able to put it into your dock at home. So you cannot actually play it as a home console. It's a portable only.
Well, it's kind of harkening back to the Game Boy.
Right. And so it doesn't have Joy-Cons that you can take off, on and off. Not compatible with the dock, and it is considerably smaller than the Switch itself. Where is that?
So it's the Game Boy 5DS.
Yeah, basically. it basically harkens back to the Game Boy and the DS without the screen and everything else.
Right. And so a regular Switch measures in at 4 inches high, 9.5 inches long. The Switch Lite is 3.5 inches high and 8 inches long, which means that the touchscreen is smaller, 5.5 inches compared to the regular Switch's 6.2 inch touchpad.
So just a hair smaller.
Just a hair smaller,
But it's meant to be more compact. It's meant to be
Yep.
lighter. It's meant to be something you more play on the go, and it's cheaper. So I mean, it's gonna be $100 cheaper.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a
gonna
lot
be
cheaper.
retailing for $199 USD versus $299 USD. So if you're into just playing the Switch as a portable device and you just want to keep like a regular Switch at home,
Yep.
go ahead, do the Lite. If you have been kind of on the fence about the Switch, now you have the Lite. It's $100 cheaper than the normal Switch, and it is just portable only, so you can use it as your portable device. So if you want to have the Switch, this is probably going to be the good alternative for you. I highly recommend the Switch. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Switches are great. I mean, and of course you have your classic, a lot of great Nintendo games on them. I'm thinking about picking up one myself. I might even go for the Lite just simply because like I'm primarily a PC gamer, and when I'm static, I want to be PC gaming at home. But if I want something that's a little more mobile, I probably would go with the Lite. It's a little bit cheaper, but also I don't need a lot of that transition back and forth. And if I'm getting the games that I enjoy, that's cool. Not a big deal.
Right.
And for like the games that I would be playing, like Pokemon or whatever else, that's what I'd be playing on there anyway.
Right.
So
Right.
anyway,
And now, kind of the big thing to come since E3 is Dr. Disrespect has come back to streaming, which has been, he came back after a near month-long absence, and 2 weeks after his E3 debacle, Twitch did reinstate his channel, and then a few weeks after that, he did return to streaming, where he had a total of 80,000 concurrent viewers
on that return stream.
on that return stream. Which this isn't the first return stream that he's had, and this isn't the first return stream from a controversy he's had. The first return stream with a controversy was allegations of spousal abuse,
Yep.
which turned out to be false. But he did want to take the time to spend more time with his family and then get back to streaming from there. But now he has come back from the big controversy of the E3 bathroom stream, which we had discussed about that last episode of what Twitch was going to do, and we have found out what Twitch is going to do. They're going to get more money.
Yeah, which doesn't come as a surprise to pretty much anybody.
No.
Like they had an opportunity to hold their grounds and actually take a stand and enforce their guidelines, but they were gonna buckle like a belt, like most companies do now, and placate to both the player, the audience, and let's face it, if they would have cut them off, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars a month they would have lost, and at that point, really all they gotta say, I gotta wonder what the back room conversations are going on.
Right.
What are the back channel conversations that he's having with them? It was probably like, hey, look, this isn't cool. Don't do that again. Smack, and we'll put you back up. You're gonna make us more money though, right?
Right.
So
I just find it funny that that the ad service for Google must be listening in.
yeah, it's
Fucking Oculus. But there is that. I have watched Doc's streams. I do enjoy his streaming. Like he actually, I like more the persona of Dr. Disrespect more than anything. It's one of those outlandish, bombastic kind of characters that you would see in a movie. Just one that you can kind of
He's a
interact with.
character.
Yeah, he is.
You got to remember.
Yeah, the character of Dr. Disrespect, it's a character. It's something that he puts on. You know, that's not his actual person. It's just a character that he does, which gets some views, gets some donation, gets some everything.
It might be interesting to do in a future episode to talk about just the characters and just streaming by itself, simply because it's a new medium of art that could be looked at in a lot of different ways. Like especially you look at the idea of Dr. Disrespect, like this is a character that Jim Carrey or Adam Sandler
Right.
or like pick your list of dozens of comedians, like Chappelle could have done this. I mean, there's so many characters that until the last 5 years would have their only platforms would have been the SNLs or this or anything else. Now they've got this huge YouTube and Twitch and everything else that they could vet these characters out of, and everybody's getting
Right.
these characters in real time.
Right.
The game is completely changed. on that.
Definitely.
Anyway.
Definitely. Side tangent. Yeah, the Taurus isn't turquoise, it's green. Thank you. It would not match it whatsoever.
Turquoise. Anyway.
But that's really all the gaming news we have for this week. There really wasn't much anything else in this past couple weeks.
Compared to like the hour that we spent on E3, because E3 is a whole thing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. No, that's good. I mean, well, wow, something crazy hasn't changed in the last few weeks. That's almost weirder than the gaming industry.
Right. I mean,
Those are big
we did get kind of some smaller things like the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare did get a gameplay reveal stream.
Sweet.
It is still in its alpha stage, as it, at least what it appears to be. Again, not currently working on that title, so I have no information on that. It looks really good. It looks really good.
I'll play it.
It is, from the knowledge that I have of it, it is running on a new engine, a completely new engine from the IW 3.0 engine, which is based off the IW 2.0 engine, which is based off the IW 1.0 engine, which dates back all the way to like Call of Duty 4.
Wow.
At least from what I remember, that's what it was. Oh no, I apologize. As far back as Call of Duty 2 in 2005. So the IW engine has been around for a while, and yeah, I mean you've got all the way up to I guess currently is the IW 7.0 engine, which was running the looks like the Infinity Ward games, and then the Treyarch did their own version of it, which was the Black Ops engine. But yeah, it's the single engine that's been just updated and updated and updated and updated. But it's good to see that they're using a new engine, because it gives a new feel to everything.
Yeah.
The game has a leaning mechanic now.
Also.
From what I have heard and from what I've seen, games like Rainbow Six Siege, and I think even PUBG has it. If you're aiming down sights, you're able to lean, like look around corners and stuff. And you can just do that independently. You can just be like standing in the hallway, just in the middle of the hallway, and you can lean. But for Modern Warfare, if you are behind cover, you will get the ability to lean and look past the cover, which I think is going to be really, really good.
That's a mechanic that I think that they've been missing for a long time.
It definitely has, and again, with everything that they have announced so far with the game, with it being, brand new engine, I shouldn't say that because I don't know if that's really been announced. But I mean, like no season pass, so you're going to get all your content for free. They're kind of doing it in the same kind of model as like Rainbow Six Siege is doing. Yes, you do have to pay for the pass to get like, the new operators and everything, but it is going to be nice that we might actually be getting a real Call of Duty game that's kind of tactical. Because I've been saying that the best tactical shooter on the market right now is Rainbow Six Siege.
That's correct.
It is 100% the
100%.
best tactical shooter on the market right now. Now, if you wanted the arcadey shooter kind of like that, you'd always go to Call of Duty. But it's kind of nice that they are changing it a bit, but not too drastically.
Yeah, not so much that you're getting rid of your audience, or not so much alienating your audience.
Right, and I will say that it did alienate me once they went for like Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare, where they went to, it's like 2155, and we have jump jets and exosuits and shit like that. Like that, and the wall running and everything, that very much just,
Well, I mean, it was either that or we go to 40,000 years in the future and we are all space marines, and that could be the whole thing.
Or we just rehash Vietnam again.
Right.
Which, each game that we've done Vietnam, they've made it look like we won. Spoiler alert, we didn't. We lost. We lost. We lost.
We just pulled out.
We lost.
America!
No. South Vietnam lost. Really? And it wasn't a war. It was a conflict.
See how we start the stream off with Good Morning Vietnam, and we're ending it with Vietnam. Man, we've got full circle at this. God, we're good.
Good evening, Vietnam. All right.
And yeah, I honestly think that's all that we got for this week.
Well, so one thing I have for gaming news, it was the Steam sale recently.
I
Steam
totally forgot about the Steam sale. How light is your wallet right now? Oh, that light, huh?
Actually, no. The only most years I'll probably spend $50 to $100 on it, but I'll pick up like literally everything. This year I bought one game, Witcher 3. And well, a lot of it's just because like I want to stuff money into other things, but also like my Steam library is almost at 200 some odd games.
Christ alive.
Yeah, and I've played maybe a quarter of them. So it's not that I don't want it's not that I wouldn't have picked up, but like I've been watching the pattern of Steam sales. Like the Witcher series went on sale a month ago. Right before the Steam sale, and like I guarantee this game will go on sale on Steam sale. I'll just pick it up then, and it did. And most of the other games that I only wanted to pick up with. Total War 2 had a bunch of DLC that went on sale. I thought about picking it up. I'm like, look, this will come on sale again in a couple of months. I'm not going to worry too much. XCOM 2 had a bunch of DLC that came out. I'll pick that up in a couple of months. Everything I saw on the Steam sale, the summer sale, for the most part, were either the titles I wasn't that interested in,
Right.
or just the fact that I know, just watching the pattern of sales, that this will go on sale again within 1 to 2 months.
Right.
And this is not something I feel like I need to jump on right this. Like I didn't feel this sense of urgency for the sales that I felt in prior years.
Right.
And so it's like looking at the budget and everything else, like, well, do I really need to do this right now, or can I get the thing this other piece of equipment or whatever else?
Right.
I didn't feel the need.
No, that makes sense. I mean, the Steam sales can always be like up in the air on what's going to be available for sale.
And look, it's middle of July. The fall sale will be in September.
Don't remind me.
And I
need money.
And I'm going to Germany, so like I want to spend money over there. All of their beer.
Damn you, based Gaben. Give me Half-Life 3! Actually, give me Left 4 Dead 3. That's what I want more.
Yeah, I would be okay with Left 4 Dead 3.
I want Left 4
I'd
Dead
like
3.
to see that.
Give me Portal 3.
Shit.
Give me a trilogy of any of the games you have developed. That's what I want.
Okay, so that's news.
I think that's news. I think that's gaming news, but I'm sure that we have some of our own announcements to go through.
We do. I like our Rivet City announcements. We have a lot of condensation on this deal.
I can leave.
Nate. I appreciate when there's moisture. Oh, God damn it. He gave me the eyes. I can't even finish what I was going to say. He just does this and that's it. I just see that fucking filter on Instagram stories where there are the hearts and the music and the very fucking white. I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. This is it.
If you wanted to know how we got this show to actually get greenlit, that's what I did.
That's what he did. I
what I
couldn't
did.
say no. Fucker. Okay, so a few announcements on the Rivet City side of things. We will be at 2DCon.
Woohoo!
So 2DCon, and to make a good segue here, is Minnesota's biggest gaming con. It is August 23rd to 25th. Thank you.
Which reminds me that I need to sign up for that initial machine competition.
You do. It's a whole thing. So it is a big gaming convention at the Hyatt in downtown Minneapolis. It's a giant arcade, hundreds of arcades, machines and boxes, things that you find in your old, arcades back in the day. Lots of good gaming there. A lot of VR setups there too as well. Good panels, good party rooms, allegedly. And just a really, really good time.
Good panels. Do you know of any good panels that'll be happening at 2DCon?
No.
I've heard of some things happening there. There's some really interesting folks doing some really interesting things.
Like what?
Well, first off, I know that some really cool D&D players are going to be there.
Really?
Yes, really.
What kind of campaign are they doing? What is it? What is the D&D campaign that they're doing?
I would say that their adventures in Ravnica.
Really?
I know.
Oh my god.
I know.
It sounds interesting. I love Ravnica.
Doesn't everyone?
Oh my god.
Holy hot movie.
I need more beer.
Yes, our main, if you check our Twitch channel, we have a whole D&T campaign. It's called Bullet Time. That our buddy here is on one of the 4 main adventures in our DM party. They are going to be at 2D Con running a panel and a one-shot campaign. Come please check it out. It'll be on the schedule soon. You'll see it. And
Got another panel.
we've got another panel where Nate is gonna suffer.
I'm gonna suffer so bad.
But not just Nate, his butthole will suffer. And Zomboy's butthole will suffer. Not because of any like weird thing, but because they'll be eating hot peppers and telling us about fan fiction. And it won't suffer there, it'll suffer the next day.
If you know about spicy fanfic, especially if you know it from Detour, I'm gonna need a lot more tequila in me.
Yeah, because he wasn't already fucking falling over a drunk to begin with.
Hey, I was not falling over drunk. I did get down to the panel room by myself. Thank you very
Under
much.
his own power, I watched it. It happened.
Okay, fine. We'll get you some tequila to cut that. But yeah, it's all about literally reading terrible fan fiction
Some of the
and eating peppers.
some of the previous ones that we have read was Anthony Bourdain and Avatar: The Last Airbender.
It's all shipping fan fiction in some way.
Yes.
It's all that way. It's some bizarre romance.
Goku from Dragon Ball Z and Anne Frank. Yes, Anne Frank.
Yeah. Oh wait.
Don't forget about the fight with Super Saiyan Hitler.
Yeah.
There was that.
There was some punching Nazis.
There was Goku punching a Super Saiyan Hitler.
Whole thing. And yeah, I was gonna say that some kind of tentacle monster was having sex with Hogwarts.
Giant squid.
Giant squid.
From
And,
one of the Final Fantasy games, wasn't it?
what was it?
No, it's from the lake at Hogwarts.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. It was the tentacle monster and the physical embodiment of Hogwarts.
Like the school.
The school
building.
itself on the cliff.
So, if you're gonna come to 2D-Con, which you should,
You should.
you should come to 2D-Con and watch our spicy fanfic panel, because that is what you get.
I'm gonna suffer.
You'll be fine. You'll be
I'm
fine.
gonna suffer.
You'll be fine. Just well, yeah, so we have 2D-Con coming up, and we also have some good shows coming up as well, in which this fella co-starred in. So we have our pilot of our show, Rivet City Office. It's kind of a slice of life comedy in which it's a parody of all of us in the Rivet City gang here, playing various characters of each other, various representations of each other. And we wrote a pilot for it, which Zomboy wrote and produced and starred in as well. And so that pilot is going to be airing tomorrow. Really excited to talk about it, really excited to show it to everybody. I just got a little bit of polish that I got to do with it, but
I've seen the rough cut of it and I love it. I love it.
Excellent. Super, super happy.
I will say my character does not come in until the end,
No,
but it is
it's good.
it's fantastic.
It's good. It is super good. So that's going to be, and our next episode of Neighborhood Gaming will be coming out this week. And also, we're actually next Sunday we're filming a new episode. We're starting season 2 production. So we'll be filming that soon, and we'll be releasing the next 2 episodes over the next few weeks. So we'll get caught for season 1, and we'll get over to season 2. We've also got some new shorts coming up. We've got a secret project with Zomboy that we're not ready to announce yet. I want to make sure some I's are dotted and T's are crossed. But overall, we're going to see Zomboy kick ass more than we've ever seen Zomboy kick ass before. And also get his ass kicked.
Sorry to keep crashing the stream, but I'm also going to be touching some ass as well.
Yes.
Was it the one ass?
yeah.
Just his ass.
Yeah.
He's actually, it's the entire video is of him tied with his hand tied behind his back with touching his ass.
No,
I get out.
No, it's Chase's ass.
It's just Chase's ass, actually.
That's my favorite ass.
What is it? What he said the cottage cheese of America. Not America's cottage cheese.
Yeah, America's cottage cheese. That's what it was.
But other than that, so those are some of the biggest things that we're doing other than this show. So our next episode will be not this Sunday, but next Sunday. So keep now. We're gonna do this bi-weekly from now on. So
It will be. The next episode will be July 28th.
awesome.
So,
Stay tuned.
yep.
Okay, everyone. Well, this is
Between two consoles.
Between Two Consoles.
And we hope that you've had a wonderful time listening to our not so lovely voices.
Oh, speak for yourself. Did you not hear the fact that I have a face for radio?
Yes, yes, you do.
Oh, I get it. Just because I dress this way.
Bergie, this isn't radio.
This isn't radio.
Wait, what? This is. What have we been doing this whole time?
See, you're on screen.
Oh! Oh God! It's so ugly.
Thanks for stopping by, guys.
Thanks for stopping by. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't noticed, we are, at least I have been, drinking Blacklist beer. We have been so graciously sponsored by the delicious folks at Blacklist Beer. Their beer is fantastic. This is a good beer. They are out of Duluth, Minnesota, because we only support Minnesota beer around here. It's great. If you happen to be in the Duluth area, you should also stop by them. Enjoy their beer. I've been enjoying it all night. So thank you for our folks behind the camera hooking us up with that, including dinner, especially dinner.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good time. Thanks,
Wait.
guys.
Can I'm sorry, wait, I'm gonna jump in real quick.
Tell us.
Am I still live?
You sure?
Okay.
Holding the button down.
Oh, don't do it. But make sure you guys, if you guys like the fucking shit that we do, sorry for the swears, but make sure you guys go see us on Patreon. We like to eat, we like to drink. The more we eat, the more we drink, the more funny shit that we can put out, the more cool stuff that these guys can put out. Between Two Consoles is just amazing. Please consider supporting us on Patreon. Patreon.com/Rivet City Limited.
Yes.
Just go check us out. We've got cool rewards. We're actually going to be coming out with more, better rewards you guys are going to love. So
Yes.
give us whatever you can.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for putting that in. Yes, please come check us out on Patreon. Every dollar, every little bit helps. It's a lot of this stuff that isn't quite. I mean, it's a whole thing.
Feed starving children.
Yeah. What?
Us.
Yes.
Us.
Bergie.
Yeah. just
Really
just
hungry.
Bergie.
Just hungry. Hungry all the time.
Please help support our editors.
I was thinking about eating Nate's arms. And then
Editor.
No, it was a joke.
Oh, we're getting you a computer, so then you
Damn it.
the old conscription, bitch.
It's called the Curse of Travis.
That's right. All Travises in Rivet City are editors. I'm going to recruit 5 of them. Their only prerequisite is name Travis. That's it. Because I don't care how old they are. If they're 5, they can learn. They can click-clock. That's fine,
Oh yeah.
right? I don't care what their skill level is. We can teach them. Their name has to be Travis.
So yeah, again, if you guys love supporting us, please support us on Patreon. Help supporting us by spreading around all of our content, following us on all our social medias. Please help support our wonderful sponsors, because we will not turn up your sponsors.
Absolutely
Let's
not.
be real.
Beer is good.
So
this
again,
beer is good.
you know, support us, support our sponsors because they support us, and I hope that everyone here has had a wonderful evening, and we will see you next time.
We will see you next time here on Twitch.tv, Whack Rivet City Limited, Between Two Consoles.